Okay, this is a video that explains the whole idea about stable working capital. So this is going to be what I'm going to call stable working capital. Okay, perhaps I'll save it as a macro-enabled workbook. Why don't I put it in where is it? In courses and in Chapter 1, corporate models, and this is going to be proofs of stable ratios. Okay, I don't know if I have another one here already, but this is really an introduction that we'll lead into more complex questions about capital expenditures, but it certainly can be important in its own way. So let's put some assumptions in first. And for the assumptions, let's make the key is to make a different growth rate. So let's put a explicit growth. How about let's make that really high. The whole and make it terminal growth slow. So this whole business really derives from the problem of a change in growth rate. Now let's start with our revenues maybe of 100. And let's put accounts receivable to revenue. How about we make it 3 months? We'll make it really long. So 3 to the next okay. And let's make our margin so only pretty low too. So what that's all going to result in is a very high level of working capital. And now let's put some timing in here. And let's put a short explicit period. How about we make that 5 years and terminal period. That's all we need. Okay, I don't think we need anything else. And finally, for evaluation, let's put okay. Now, what we're going to do is show you the problems if you don't make a adjustment in the terminal value, in the terminal calculation, and you don't use this formula. I'm going to highlight this formula again and again. And okay, oops, and we'll okay, and we'll make it this is the terminal growth, right? By the way, rather than regular growth. So let's make our model, and let's start with our timing. Okay. How about a period first? Then we'll put explicit. And then we'll put our terminal period and our short-term growth, which is really in this case same as our and long-term growth period. So the reason we put the long-term growth and the short-term growth, we put a theoretically correct valuation. I was very worried about spelling that correctly, and then after we put a theoretically correct valuation in, let's put a computed and without adjustment stable. Period adjustment, and then we'll put computed valuation. This should have said without. Okay. To see the error. And we'll put a percent. Okay, so let's get going. So for the period, let's start with 0. Shift Control right arrow, Control R. When it's the explicit period, we'll put an and. This thing, no, we don't really even need an and. Just this thing is less than or equal to this period. Okay, that's okay. And the terminal period is simply when this thing equals this one right there. Okay. And you know, I started to do this occasionally. If you click on the whole spreadsheet, make a new rule, and make a formula, and for the formula you just click on the cell and say, well, no, let's click on the terminal period, so I think that's a safer way to do it. Then this thing, go to F4 is equal to true. Then let's put a format. How about this time I'll make some kind of gray format. Okay. So we can very quickly see what's the crucial terminal period. Then the short-term growth rate really is just the explicit period, and this is less than or equal to the 5. And the long-term period is simply when this thing is greater than the 5. Okay, and then, you know, I have this file open called depreciation exercises, depreciation functions. That took a long time to find. And I have some shortcuts, and those are in add-ins. As long as you have a file like this, I've got this in a couple of other files, but as long as you have this file open, then you can do a few things. We can shift control, shift control T for the true, shift control F for the false. What happened? Did I not cut off the sheet? No, we're just making this a 300 period model, obviously. I need to come up with a really good way to find row 300 really fast. Control minus shift okay, so arrow, put a plus sign. Okay, so there we've got our model started. Now let's put our okay, and to get our field, let's put a growth rate in here, okay? And the growth rate simply going to be short-term period times the short-term growth plus the long-term period times the long-term growth. Okay, if you've watched any of the other videos, they're all about the same. Now, after we put in the growth rate, I'll put the revenues in. Okay, we'll start with our base period revenues and multiply them by 1 plus okay, shift control right arrow, control R. And then X, which of course could be much more precise, but we'll multiply this by 1 minus the margin. So 80% of our revenues consumed by operating expenses, and that's going to be important because now we can get our accounts receivable. You know, I really should have put some of the assumptions up here, shouldn't I? Okay, our accounts receivable to revenues is 25%. So we put this is AR level. Okay, and this time we put it in the base year. Okay, and then we can put our change in working capital, which is just this period minus the last period. Okay, and notice what happened is the change in working capital went way up, and then it comes down really fast. Okay, so free cash flow is simply the revenues minus the expenses minus the change in working capital. That's how much cash flow we get to put into our pocket. PV of the free cash flow is just NPV at the weighted average cost of capital, and if you're lazy, you can just click on this. Okay, so that's our theoretical value. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put two other approaches in. The first approach will be valuation using terminal values without stable period adjustment. And for that, let's first put in the explicit and that explicit cash flow is simply the free cash flow we have above, but we just only use that if we're in the explicit period. Okay, and then we put our terminal cash flow, and this is a little bit tricky, not much. We'll use if it's the explicit period, not the terminal period, then we'll take the terminal period, multiply it by the cash flow times 1 plus the terminal growth rate divided by the flat minus the terminal growth rate. Okay, I hope that worked okay. So then we'll compute the NPV. Did I just gonna we should just use the WAP again and put this one. Okay, and take this one, and then the enterprise value is 242 instead of 487. I wonder if I did something wrong. I don't know. Well, we can tell you about this. I think don't like that little gray bar maybe. Okay, so we've understated the value, and our error is this. And I'll put a minus sign because we're below our value. This divided by the t value. So we've made an error of 50%. Now, if we would have had a 2% growth rate, oops, excuse me, Sorry about that. I had an incorrect formula in our terminal value. It was too big to whack. So let's put, again, if we put 2% for both, we get no error. That proves that where error is coming from. If we have 20% growth rate, then we have a 15% error. It's not quite true. If we have 40% error, we have a 29%. So we don't have to make it this big. If our margin was only 10%, then we'd have a 32% growth rate, just because the accounts receivable and all that are relatively more important. If we have a longer explicit period, does that make any difference? Oh yeah, it did a little. Okay. And if we have a 15% whack, it makes a little difference. If we only have a 5% whack, we get a bigger value difference. Okay, now to correct this problem, we'll put valuations, and this time we'll put with a stable period adjustment. Now to get the stable period adjustment, we're going to compute the stable period working. Let's first put working capital to EBITDA. That's the first thing we need to compute, and that should be constant. So take the level of accounts payable divided by the EBITDA, which is the revenues minus the expenses. Okay, that's a stable period working capital put. Now our stable working capital change, that's this formula we have. Working capital to EBITDA times EBITDA in this period times growth divided by growth minus 1. So maybe let's put the terminal growth here. Okay, we can just put this up here and put these in. Okay, so working capital change. Let's try that. This thing times the EBITDA should have definitely computed the EBITDA times the growth rate divided by 1 plus the growth rate. Okay, that's our stable working capital. Notice that the working capital change that we had in our terminal value is dramatically different. That's the source of the error. So now let's put a stable cash flow, which is simply the revenues minus the expenses minus down and get this stable period thing, and then we can put our terminal cash flow this time. Perhaps why don't I put in the rack over here since we have the terminal growth rate. Okay, and so remember this is this number, which is just an adjusted cash flow multiplied by 1 plus the terminal growth rate divided by the rack. That's where I made the mistake last time, minus the terminal growth rate, and of course we have to multiply that by our terminal period switch. Okay, and then so now we have a different terminal value. Notice how this terminal value is a lot higher than that one. And I should have put this somewhere else. Put it up here. Okay, so this is the NPV of the WAC. Okay, and so I have one already. That's our and our explicit cash flow is valued just up here. There is the explicit cash flow here, so our total is down here. Okay, I had a problem with this one. I put the NPV, the discount right here. That was so silly, but now we get exactly the same thing. Oh, there goes my dog barking. Okay, that's my partner in my horrible business. Okay, so we put our 10% margin, and now look that this method is the same, but we have these big errors. Let's make a 5% margin to make it really an enormous error. Let's put a 40% growth in, then we can get these really big errors. Okay, so that's just a illustration of how to make it work. I'm going to try something. It's just not. If I go to the shortcuts and put column titles, then you can get the column titles. Maybe that doesn't look very good. You can go and adjust that shortcut macro yourself if you like. Okay. I don't know if we really. Oh well. Okay, that's enough of that video.